Now, I really like the drum and its use of both parties because, like, it starts off fairly basic, where you're jumping between the two parties of two to do distinct sections in sequence, and that's mostly what it is. But then at the end, they do this cool thing where the boss of the area is one of the big random monsters from the original game, and like it starts off as a fight with where Cloud and Barret are facing off against it, but after you deal a certain amount of damage, it goes out of control and busts into the area where Aerith and Tifa are, right? And Aerith and Tifa wind up having to finish it off with Red 13 as accompaniment.
It's also kind of a revisit of the Northern Crater, where you split parties into the fork, and you explore one side while the other party automatically explores the other side, and then you talk to them at the end and get their items.
Ah.
But you now have control of both parties basically around that time.
I didn't really think about that so much. Huh. Anyway, Aerith's newest weapon ability, she's got 3 whole weapon abilities to learn in this section, it's a little unbalanced, but her newest weapon ability is called Lustrous Shield. And it's a bit awkward to use because at trying to get characters to face a specific direction in, damn it, trying to get characters to face a specific direction and position these things in maddeningly precise locations is not something that's particularly intuitive in this game. So, but basically, what the Lustrous Shield does is it creates a transparent barrier, which you'll constantly be phasing through anyway and getting hit, like I'm doing. But what it does is it reflects projectiles and physical attacks. And of course, it's useless in a lot of situations because it's such a small shield that one twitch to the right and suddenly the projectiles are aiming at you anyway. So,
Whoops.
yeah, it's
Why
a bit...
even bother using it then?
Because...
You're just using it to get the ability.
Yeah, I'm just trying to use it over and over to get the ability so I can move on to her next weapon. You know, Aerith kind of gets the short end of the stick with some of her weapon abilities because, like, a lot of them are cool in concept but not very useful within the larger combat system. And then they, like... Then you have, like, something like Arcane Ward, which is super useful and makes Aerith, like, worth having in your party at all times no matter what you're doing. It's a bit odd. Like... I hope they retool some of her abilities in Part 2 so that they have maybe a little bit more utility than they do here. But, like, it feels like she has abilities that sound like they're worth experimenting with, but, like, just have, like...
And then you just realize, not really.
They have, like, one fatal flaw that makes them not really worth messing with a lot of the time. Like, Ray of Judgment is another good example. It does quite a lot of magic damage. It's a good physical attack if you're... I mean, not physical attack, but it's a good non-materia attack ability if you're just looking at its damage output. But the target needs to be basically completely stationary the entire time you're using it. Otherwise, you don't get nearly enough damage for it to be worth an ATB bar. And, like, it has a long windup too, so it's hard to pull off at the best of times. It's a little bit like Aerith's version of Infinity's End, but the thing is, Cloud has other attacks that you can use when Infinity's End isn't particularly worth using, whereas Aerith is just a magic user. All of her attacks have some kind of wind-up like that. So Ray of Judgment just winds up having a lot of the same drawbacks as the rest of her attacks, only a lot more. Yeah.
That said, if you do manage to get a good aim on it, I think as you demonstrated in the last part against one of the Zennies, you took more than half of its HP off with just one Ray of Judgment.
Yeah, it can do a lot of damage if you can bust it out on an enemy that's stationary and staggered, but there aren't a whole lot of situations where that's viable.
That aren't mini bosses or like gargantuan bosses that you're fighting with Aerith anyway.
Yeah. And it's like, these abilities are abilities that Aerith gains so late in the game that you don't really have time to get a handle on how to use them effectively until your second playthrough at best. So it feels like she'd be a much better character if they tweaked some of the rough edges in her abilities, and hopefully they'll do that for the next part. But also, she just doesn't get quite enough time with the second half of her weapon set for you to naturally learn her tricks. It's kind of like this is another weird comparison to make. It's kind of like Dante in Devil May Cry 4, where halfway through the game you get Dante and he has like a million bajillion things that he can do, and the game doesn't present you a learning curve to master all of that. So it winds up.
Why are you this way?
It winds up feeling mechanically unbalanced for the point in the game that it appears in. Of course, that's a really exaggerated example to pull, but it's the same general principle. In Devil May Cry 5, Dante has basically the same system going on, but it's better, and you have a natural selection of missions through which you can learn Dante's abilities. So you just learn, you learn more naturally how to make use of all of his weird quirks. In any case, though, god damn this thing.
I mean, Barrow's quick to save your ass real quick.
Yep.
And they're not coming for you.
Just a bit outside.
Well, you don't actually have to hit anything with the counter stance to gain a bit of proficiency with it. God.
I think you get a bonus, though, if you use it.
Yeah. If you manage to score a counter with counter stance, that is basically the proficiency bonus for counter stance. So there we go.
There you go.
Nice. I mean, you're still poisoned, but...
Nah, who cares?
Just got dogpiled.
These enemies are kind of like the Bloodhounds from earlier in the game, but infinitely more pissed off. But
these guys were on all fours in the original. Now they're kind of
You're almost monkey-like.
more of a monkey. Go back to Resident Evil Hunters.
I was about to draw that comparison, especially since this one just turned green.
Just watch out for the random decapitation.
Come on. There you go.
Well, you whacked him if nothing else.
But like... Alright, so the first section that you go through with Tifa and Aerith is obviously meant to be this creepy... The characters are creeping through this foreboding laboratory environment dealing with monsters in captivity, and then you switch over to Cloud and Barrett, and it's just like... Suddenly you've gone from Resident Evil 2 to Resident Evil 4. It's really...
Okay, can you heal in the pause menu with potions?
No.
Okay, because one thing I always did like about the Final Fantasy games is that it didn't take this long to heal. You can spam potions and heal everybody in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, because even multi-use is not that much faster.
Yeah.
So I would agree on that one. That's something they need to change for the next episode and beyond.
Well, yeah, I'd say so.
I mean, this is also assuming you're not using your cure materia too.
Anyway, I told a lie a few parts back. I said that the best you'll ever get from materia slots out of armor is one pair of linked slots and 2 standalone. Actually, not true. You can gain additional. You can gain armor during the drum. 2 pieces of armor that have 2 linked pairs. I just completely forgot about them. Anyway, it's time to fight the Moth unit again. Now that I have counter stance, I can cheese this boss fight even better.
Well,
as you're demonstrating right now.
It's not the Moth unit that's getting me. It's the shock rays that are getting me. I need to take care of the shock rays. They're sucker punching me, and while Cloud is stuck in his I just got hit animation, he's not countering things. So I need to kill the shock rays. Ugh. I hate it when I'm...
Was Barrett talking to himself?
I hate it when I'm stuck against a wall. Anyway, now they're gone. I can counterattack.
Oh, the one time I have countermeasures ready and they're not focusing on the main character.
It just took a few seconds. Anyway, once you hit him with the Punisher counter, go into counter stance, and then boom, and then hold the block button again after that, and just cancel out of your counter into counter stance over and over and over again, and you'll deal a lot of damage very efficiently that way.
Yeah, because it's like, just to reiterate, you're holding the block button down and you're slowly approaching the moth unit yourself.
Yeah,
and then once you come into contact with the blades, you do the counter attack.
And so during that initial counter attack from Punisher mode, you cancel your animation by going right into counter stance.
All right, so as your attack, oh, you got fucked right there though. Holy shit!
I'm not sure how that
What was
happened,
that?
but
So Cloud is human.
it's like it's a pretty effective tactic against these guys. But I'm not sure what damaged me there.
Oh, look at that! That thing blew up. Didn't hurt.
I like this interplay between Barrett and Hojo. It's interesting that Hojo and Barrett get to interact, because that wasn't something that ever really happened in the original game.
No, he gets munched on by Red 13 once and leaves.
Nice swimsuit there, Hojo. Nice sailor suit, Barrett.
Anyway, speaking of Barrett, though, like, in the drum, and especially after the drum, Barrett gets some nice moments. Like, in the original game, President Shinra got killed off screen by Sephiroth, and you found him with a sword through him, and it was creepy and a nice twist. But it also denied Barrett any kind of confrontation with President Shinra that didn't squarely put President Shinra in the winner's seat. So,
Yeah, because if I recall correctly, he doesn't even really get many scenes with Rufus.
no, he doesn't. You're right. But like in this version of events, because President Shinra is still alive when you get up there, Barrett has this really cool interaction with President Shinra right before he dies.
We'll get to there when we get to there, because I think that's in the next part.
It's
Maybe?
a part or two ahead from here, yeah. It's just like it's cool to see Barrett get that moment, because that was a moment he never got in any form whatsoever in the original game. Like, he never really has a moment to triumph over Shinra as a corporation, or over any of the individual Shinra executives, in spite of that basically being his entire motivation. But like throughout the drum, Barrett and Aerith are the ones who remark most directly on how fucked up Hojo is. Like, Barrett is reacting to all of this stuff, but he does take kind of a cocky attitude toward it, like, glad you enjoyed the show, that kind of response. Also, this is a goddamn cool scene where we almost have the moment from the original where Red 13 mauls Hojo, but then we get cutscene stop magic, which is something that I wasn't expecting. Cutscenes usually don't acknowledge shit like this, but we got to see Hojo just taunting Red 13 while he's under stop magic. And it's a setup for a mini-boss that was another random enemy in the original game.
Whack-a-mole robot.
Oh, goddamn.
I did not. I don't know why. I did not expect them to bring the whack-a-mole robots.
I didn't expect them either. And this battle against the whack-a-mole robots isn't particularly challenging, just annoying, because the whack-a-mole robots are constantly disappearing to the other side of the arena, because this one is so wide. The one you have to watch out for is the one that Aerith and Tifa have to fight not so long in the future from here, where they're in a much more enclosed space, because the whack-a-moles have this ability where they cast a stop spell on a wide area in front of them, and then while you're stopped, they just wail on you with their giant hammer. It does a fuck lot of damage, and you can't do a goddamn thing about it if both of your characters get caught in it. So,
yeah, this is like the part of the game where stop magic suddenly becomes a thing you have to deal with.
What I would recommend doing, and you probably haven't leveled this materia up yet because this is like the first time it's really useful at all, but the warding materia, when linked with time materia, can reduce the duration of slow and stop. So you can get out of the stop magic a lot faster, especially if you've leveled it up. But like I said, you probably haven't by now. Still, even at its lowest level, it reduces the duration of stop by 25%, which is a significant dent. I recommend having it on at least one of your characters, so that they can get out of it as fast as possible and at least keep the other character alive.
This thing's stuck in one place, though. Can't we just, like, leave?
No, we're locked in here until we beat the monsters.
You know what? He's right.
Oh, wait.
That thing is still open. We could just go.
We could, yeah. This is one, yeah.
But think of the experience gains.
In this case, the game just doesn't let you. The unfortunate.
We're gonna get so many Chuck E. Cheese prize tickets you don't even know.
The unfortunate thing about the sledge worms, which is what they're called, is that they're constantly ducking out from under your targeting, so even lightning magic can frequently miss them. There's no way to really lock them in place unless you manage to stagger them. If you stagger them, which I frequently try to do but fail to do because they keep ducking out from under my goddamn focus thrusts, is if you manage to stagger them, they fall down and they're stuck in place for a little while, and that lets you do a fair bit. Why did I manage to kill the other one? I think I managed to kill the other.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, I thought for a moment that I was just ignoring the enemy that I just staggered for no reason.
And stay down. You gotta kill him, Cloud. What? Nah, he's
But
not
once again, keeping Barret and Cloud stuck with elemental lightning attack is paying off in a big way, because a lot of the enemies that they wind up having to fight are weak against lightning. Got him. Alright, and that's basically it. This guy's not going to survive.
Why didn't we do this before, Barret? I don't know. I was following your lead.
I like that awkward fucking duck walk that Barret has to do to get under there. Anyway, the smoke pods. This is one of the weirder enemies from the original game, but also one of the least memorable in this section of the original. And they gave it like the most unique goddamn mini boss in the entire section.
It was memorable for the wrong reasons. Man, this attack takes forever. Because they only had one attack, basically. There was, maybe three, where it's this really long animation where they're basically just poisoning you. And if they were attacking a character that was already poisoned, like the little head that pops up from in the pod just pops up and gives you like a little black smoke. That's about it. But man, that original cast time was so obnoxious with 3 party members in your team.
Yeah.
It's like, Christ, I want to get a move on already.
Yeah, that enemy was not a particularly fun one to fight in the original, but thankfully, in this version of the game, they gave it a pretty unique boss fight, and also a really, really goddamn good boss fight to make full use of Cloud's counter stance ability in, because you wind up fighting a whole flock of the goddamn things, and they group up around you. And they use a lot of physical attacks. So if you just hold block in Punisher stance or go into counter stance, you'll eventually start just counterattacking everything all at once. And it winds up being really an effective way to do a lot of damage to the whole group quickly. And while Cloud is doing that, you can ATB command Barret to use big, wide sweeping magic attacks on them. And it becomes pretty satisfying to take them all out really quickly with AoE attacks and counters. Ah, here we are. Speaking of Umbrella Labs.
They're enhanced. Or dissected.
You're only just realizing that now, are you, Barret?
Watch out, it's Magneto.
I'm not really sure why they have floaty magic magnet powers, but like if they did, you'd think maybe they would just float Cloud's sword and Barret's gun arm, and I don't know, maybe even Red 13's hair clip. But no. Anyway, the brain pod starts off as you fighting against one guy, so it seems fairly simple. Its HP is going down pretty fast, too.
I do not remember this enemy
take
at all.
that. You usually fought them in groups of 2.
In PlayStation 1 graphics, it was a pretty simple-looking enemy, not very memorable. But, you know, they sure made it memorable. The first thing is, like, once you get the first one down to half HP, you get this cutscene where the head pops out, which is creepy.
The head is definitely different, though. Way more menacing.
Yeah, and then a bunch of the goddamn things appear around you while you're paralyzed, and Cloud is poisoned, so he's taking damage throughout this whole thing. Actually, if you know what you're doing, you might want to head this off by casting regen on both of the characters. But, like, now we're fighting just a ridiculous number of the goddamn things. And the thing is, like, every attack that you have has some amount of splash range damage, especially Cloud's sword. So if he scores a counterattack on anybody, he's swinging his sword in a wide arc and hitting all the other enemies that are around him. So look, I've already beaten a couple of them without really even trying very hard. Oh, no. He hit me with something that wasn't counterable. Okay. Alright, I'm having Barret keep Cloud alive. Ooh, nice. The other thing about counterattacks is that they're really good at raising the stagger bar. So... And these guys are all grouped together, so Blade Burst.
Blade Burst.
There we go. I really...
It's just noise.
I really don't know how to... I really don't know how like, I don't think I can underline how goddamn satisfying it is to take these guys out quickly with a bunch of AoE attacks. Because, like, this was the battle that gave me the most trouble out of all the battles in this section of the game on my first playthrough.
Just use it.
I'm trying to figure out which one's got the most HP so that I can knock them out. Fortunately, I think another one of the enemies just walked into it while I was doing that. So
Yeah, we're down from 5 to 3. So
now it's down to 2. All right, and once you're down to 2 or 3, it really stops becoming an issue. The only thing that makes this battle hard
good
at
job,
all,
Red.
Ooh, Red Thurston just stole your kill.
that's karma.
No, it's Red 13.
The only thing that makes that battle hard is how goddamn many of the things you're fighting. So once you've whittled down their numbers, it becomes fairly easy.
I do wonder, like, if you let the pods get close to, like, pretty much surround you, and you have an Infinity Zen ready. You see where I'm going with that? It's like you get the circular motion, the downward swing, which obviously probably only hit like one or two of them, but I do wonder how much damage that would do.
I think the only thing that actually damages the enemy is the downward swing, though. I mean, it'd be cool if the attack did extra splash damage from the circular swing part.
Yeah, the wind up.
But I don't think it does.
What do you know? That's the door to the fourth wall.
If we want to get in, we'll need to go all the way back.
Oh boy.
But the door we used to get here is shut. So what now?
The passages
Oh,
have
we
to be
dropped down.
connected somehow.
Hey, look, a bench.
How do Shinra's employees get around this place?
They take
Don't
it
ask
over.
that question. Video games, this is like you know how in Pokemon in the Silph they've got like random teleporty things all over the place. It's like,
Yeah.
what's the purpose of those? Do Pokemon employees just teleport from place to place? Don't ask that question. It's not worth the answer.
Actually,
It's like sometimes you want to go from one office to the other
There's
office.
an
you don't
elevator
feel
in
like
the
taking stairs.
building.
And there's also some stairs, yeah, but sometimes but they're all the way over there. The teleporter is right here.
There's an elevator right there. Just use the elevator.
All right,
It,
no more
it takes
beaming,
longer
I'll
to
just
walk to the elevator than it does to walk to the teleporter.
Yeah, but
pod.
then that teleporter goes to floor 6 instead of floor 2. And
I think a Silphco employee would know which teleporter pod goes
I've
where.
been playing that game
unlike
for
you,
20
the
years,
10-year
John, and I still
Well,
don't.
you're just a 10-year-old kid on an adventure, Ted.
Okay, you know what? I'm still the only person smart enough to be able to beat all these grunts with one coughing and one Zubat.
Silphco employees just worry about Silphco things.
They need to worry about not letting the worst... Okay, that's not true. Team Galactic and its like level 30-something Wurmples are still the worst worst Pokemon grunts, but still.
Okay, so this time messing with the test tube pod things actually ended up letting some monsters out. So this is the point at which Red 13 gets separated from Cloud and Barret, and you have to switch over to Tifa and Aerith to get down to him. So this is a bit of a timed sequence, but you've got a generous amount of time to get over to Red 13, and his actual HP doesn't seem to suffer much for the amount of damage he takes. I don't know if his HP goes down faster on higher difficulties, though. That would suck because the enemies...
Probably a safe assumption, but I don't know.
That would suck because the enemies also take longer to kill on higher difficulties, I would imagine.
What if we, like, tossed down some healing items onto his head?
You like energy drinks?
Yeah. Oh, wait, no, he wouldn't be
Whack-a-mole.
able to open the bottles. He doesn't have hands.
Oh, fuck, he would, like, crunch the can, like, cause the leak and drink it that way.
Anyway, I'm not even bothering to try and learn, like, special attacks during this battle because... Oh,
And you got stopped right in the middle of your spellcast.
Ooh, that's dangerous.
Her pose is actually really good.
if he gets
I like that pose.
if he gets stopped in the middle of a spell casting, the spell casting will resume when stop ends. So that's a nice touch. See?
I mean, that's good at least. It was kind of. I was kind of hoping the head bonking would continue for a second there. It's like all four just show up like. Boop, 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 boop.
Hey, pal here.
So you do need to watch out for the torpid strike, which is what it's called, where they bop you and stop you.
They stop and bop you.
That too.
Stop them,
Stop 'em,
boppers.
boppers.
More
Stop
fun
Damn
than
it, Ted, you
pillow
took my
fight.
joke. You took my fucking joke, asshole.
I like the design of the fucking whack-a-mole robots though, because it's like there's some sort of bioorganic worm thing on the inside of the robot, so it's like not only are they weird robots, they're weird umbrella bioweapon creations underneath the robots. Which would be why they're called sledge worms, I guess.
Is that a U worm or a O worm?
Huh?
You know how there's
As in
worms
what?
and worms?
Right. Oh wait, you're right. Ark, you're talking about
WYRM.
like the dragons and the regular worms. I mean, I think I asked that question some commentary,
Well, no,
but like,
because there's-
why is it called a worm?
No, the Y worms are dragons, but there's also
Yeah.
worms like WURM, which are like bigger worm, you know?
I mean, like the really big ones in like deep underground, like harsh environment areas that like shouldn't really even exist.
I'll show you what I can do.
There's a lot of stuff that shouldn't be able to exist, but the depths of the ocean say, nah, brah.
Also, you get the enhanced shock troopers with their frickin' roller skate strats.
So what, do they just patrol this one platform?
On their rollerblades.
It's interesting that you get to fight a couple of these without the power armor from before. Like, just in case you didn't have a chance to scan the enhanced shock troopers the first time, there's a second chance to get them here, where the armor isn't in the way. So that's interesting. I wonder if that's why they did it.
I'll take care of this. You can
Alright.
do it. All set.
Well, that was easy. It's almost like they're not very durable without their stupid power armor.
Tifa, you can move a little bit faster.
Red 13's kind of, you know, dying.
Sorry for the wait. Now, let's get this over with.
Ah, he'll be fine. See? Only a third of his health is gone.
Yeah, that's him bleeding out.
I mean, considering that he's been fighting on his own this entire time, he must be pretty good at fighting. Because usually, like, if Aerith or Tifa or Cloud or Barret were fighting on their own, their health would go down a lot faster than that.
You're burning up.
Dead. I love the way third tier magic works in this game, and I hope they make that the standard for future Final Fantasy games. I'm actually really looking forward to Final Fantasy 16 just to see if they take the lessons they learned with 7 Remake and
What does the third tier magic do that's different than normal?
Extremely large splash damage for one.
yeah, it is more powerful, but it has a stronger it has a longer wind up, so it's generally harder to hit the enemy without getting hit yourself. But if you manage to cast the spell, it has quite a lot of splash damage, so it's good for crowd control. It is so good for crowd control. I almost said cloud control. It'd probably be good for that too, but
Well, so far I was like, I'm gonna break this down.
but like it's more powerful than the tier 2 or tier 1 magic, but not so much more powerful that those lower levels of magic become entirely useless. Basically, like, I've probably been underutilizing the first level magic for most of this game, but like you can still get use out of your fire, blizzard, and thunder spells, and sometimes it's more efficient to bust out your second level spell than your third level spell. But like,
It's just so much wind up to the third one. That's
when
why.
you can, but it rewards you for casting the third level spell, though. It's just so goddamn satisfying to land one.
Yeah. At the same time, though, you gotta be more practical.
Yeah.
With certain things.
I mean, there's also the fact that, like, relative to the level you're at, MP consumption is more of a constant concern in this game than it was in the original. You're running through your MP a lot more quickly than you would in the original games.
sometimes I'm more about consistency than being as optimal as possible. Because sometimes I just don't know what exactly the optimal strategy is. But as long as this is working at a reasonable level, then I'll just stick with that.
The other thing, though, is that because all of the magic spells have their own way of getting to the target, the different elements do have their other considerations beyond just elemental strengths and weaknesses. Like, a lot of the time when you're using lightning magic, it's not because you're fighting an enemy that's weak to lightning, it's because the enemy's movement patterns are too annoying for the other spells.
Did Tifa know the part was ending?
Yeah, probably.